Welcome to today's survival story. This is the true story of a man who should have died 100 times, but didn't. A man who survived a plane crash, floated for weeks in a life raft, faced sharks, starvation, and enemy bullets, only to be captured and tortured for years in the most brutal prison camps. This is the story of Louis Zamperini, a man who proved that the human spirit can endure almost anything. Louis Zamperini was not born a hero. In his early childhood, he was a troublemaker, known in his neighborhood for stealing, fighting, and running from the police. But running eventually became the skill that would change his life. His older brother Pete pushed him into athletics, believing Louis could be more than a neighborhood troublemaker. Louis trained hard, found discipline, and soon rose to become one of the fastest long-distance runners in America. He qualified for the 1936 Berlin Olympics and caught the attention of many with his remarkable final lap sprint. His dream was to return in 1940 and win gold, but history changed that plan forever. The world went to war. Louis joined the United States Air Force during World War II and became a bombardier on AB-24 bomber. In the Pacific, he flew dangerous missions, narrowly escaping death more than once. But the defining moment came in 1943. During a rescue mission, Louis's aircraft malfunctioned and crashed into the ocean. Most of the crew died instantly. Only 3 survived the impact: Louis, pilot Russell Allen Phillips, and tail gunner Francis McNamara. They climbed into 2 small rubber life rafts, surrounded by endless ocean. The real test had just begun. Days passed, then weeks. They had almost no food, almost no water, and no shade. Sharks circled around them constantly, bumping the raft at night, waiting. At times, the sharks leaped out of the water to attack, and Louis had to punch them in self-defense. They endured violent storms, burning sun, and starvation. They caught fish with their bare hands. They drank rainwater when the clouds allowed. They pushed forward with nothing but willpower. Weeks turned into a month. McNamara eventually died on the raft. Louis and Phil wrapped his body and let the sea take him. On the 47th day drifting across the Pacific, they finally saw land, but it was not safety. Japanese soldiers found them and captured them instantly. What followed was worse than the ocean. Louis was taken to a series of brutal Japanese prison camps. One guard in particular, known as the Bird, developed a personal hatred for him. Because Louis was an Olympian and a symbol of American strength, the Bird targeted him with endless beatings, starvation, and psychological torture. Every day was a battle for survival. Louis was forced to clean pig stables with his bare hands. He was ordered to hold a heavy wooden beam above his head for hours. He endured disease, cold, and humiliation. He was beaten until he could barely stand. Yet every morning he stood back up. The Bird wanted to break Louis, but Louis refused to give him that victory. He kept his mind alive with memories of running, his family, and the life he refused to give up. After 2 years of unimaginable suffering, the war finally ended in 1945. American forces liberated the camps. The prisoners were rescued, and Louis Zamperini, against every odd, walked out alive. He returned home a broken man physically, but still breathing. He rebuilt his life, eventually forgiving his captors and finding peace. Louis lived not just to survive, but to inspire millions with the message that no matter how dark life becomes, the human spirit is stronger. His story, told in the book Unbroken, is one of the greatest survival journeys ever recorded. Louis Zamperini survived what most humans would never imagine enduring. His story proves that strength is not something you're born with. It's something you discover inside yourself when survival is the only option. If this powerful story inspired you, don't forget to stay until the end of the video. Explore more real survival stories, and remember, the toughest battles create the strongest people.